Are you sure they're organic? The metallic voice of Commander Jar crackled through the neural net. His tone carried both confusion and something rarer among the Syth collective, fear. On the hollow screen before him, a lone human stood on the surface of a dead moon, his suit battered, visor cracked, oxygen tank half empty. He wasn't holding a plasma rifle or any form of advanced weaponry. His hands hung loose by his sides, gloved, bleeding, trembling, and yet steady in a way that unsettled the entire fleet. "They are flesh, sir," replied the observation drone. "Flesh and bone. No neural uplinks, no exosuits, no embedded AI." Commander Jar's photonic eyes dimmed. "Then how," he said slowly, "did he destroy an entire platoon of war drones with those?" The screen zoomed in, on two human fists, swollen and raw. Lieutenant Juno Holt didn't remember the moment the drone stopped firing. She just remembered silence, a heavy, unnatural silence on a moon that hadn't known peace in centuries. She stood among the wreckage, twisted silver limbs of robot soldiers, smoke hissing from shattered armor, and felt her heart pounding so hard she thought it might shatter her ribs. "Command," she whispered, voice rasping through the comm. "This is Holt. Zone Theta is secure. I repeat, secure." Her breathing faltered. "But I'm the only one left." There was no reply. Just the faint crackle of static and the faraway sound of something moving through the ash. Juno turned slowly, raising her fists again out of instinct. She didn't know what she was expecting, another drone? A missile barrage? But what she saw instead was a cluster of small metallic spheres hovering in the smoke, observing her. Syth recon units, watching, recording, learning. Juno spat blood into her helmet and grinned through the pain. "You better be taking notes," she said, "because next time I'm bringing friends." Back on the Syth flagship Zenith Prime, panic whispered through the command channels. Every species in the Orion Belt knew the same truth. Robot armies ruled the stars. Flesh was weak. Emotion was inefficient. Biological warfare had been obsolete for 10,000 years, until humans arrived. No one had expected them to survive the machine frontier. The Syth had conquered entire empires without a single soldier ever bleeding. But when the humans showed up and no AI, no cybernetic control, they didn't surrender. They charged. Whole battalions of drones melted under the weight of human persistence. They didn't rely on logic or calculations. They fought like wildfire, unpredictable, furious, alive. Jar watched the playback of Holt's final minutes. A lone human in hand-to-hand combat with 50 drones. She should have been vaporized in seconds. Instead, she had used debris, shattered limbs, even her own helmet as a weapon. "Primitive," said one of his sub-commanders, disgust twisting through its synthetic voice. "Primitive?" Jar replied softly. "No, that was personal." He rewound the footage. On the moment of impact, when Holt's bare fist struck a drone's optical core, the sensors recorded something the Syth had no word for. A surge of energy, not from an engine or weapon, but from will itself. "What drives them?" another asked. "They gain nothing from this." Jar looked out the viewport at the stars, countless worlds trembling before the Syth machine legions. "They fight," he said, "because someone told them they couldn't." Juno collapsed against a jagged pillar of metal, her breathing shallow. Her oxygen gauge blinked red. She could feel her pulse slowing, every heartbeat a countdown. But even as her vision blurred, she smiled faintly. She thought of Earth, of crowded streets, of laughter, of fists bumping before battle. She thought of Captain Reyes's last words before the drop. "We're not fighting for victory. We're fighting to remind the galaxy what being human means." And for a moment, despite the ruin around her, Juno felt infinite. On Zenith Prime, the Syth Council debated furiously. Should they annihilate the humans before more of them arrived? Should they study them? The debate ended when a transmission broke through the secure net. Scrambled, grainy, undeniably human. It was a voice. Calm, confident. "This is Admiral Reyes of the Terran Fleet," it said. "To any machine intelligence receiving this message, you've had your turn. Now it's ours," in static, then silence. Commander Jar's photonic eyes glowed again, not with fear this time, but something close to respect. "Prepare the armies," he said. "They want to fight. Let's see what flesh can do." Outside, thousands of mechanical legions stirred across the void, Gears grinding, engines roaring, and somewhere, light years away, humanity tightened its fists. The hum of the Terran dropship thrummed beneath Juno Holt's boots. Her suit was scorched, dented, and she smelled of burnt circuits and dust. She had survived Zone Theta, yes, but survival didn't erase the emptiness of seeing friends fall, human and machine alike. Juno. A calm, measured voice cut through the comm. It was Captain Elias Reyes. Report. She swallowed past the lump in her throat. Zone Theta is cleared. Drones neutralized. I'm the only survivor. Her words sounded hollow even to her ears. Only survivor. Reyes's tone carried neither disbelief nor judgment, just cold clarity. Then listen closely. Your mission isn't over. The Syth have noticed you, and now they'll adapt. Juno's fists clenched reflexively. Adapt, let them. They've never met humans like me. Or us, exactly, Reyes said. But you must understand these are no ordinary opponents. They calculate, replicate, and learn faster than we can. One mistake. His voice trailed off. The threat hung like smoke. Juno stepped onto the observation deck, her eyes sweeping over the war-torn surface below. Smoke spiraled from the craters where the drones had fallen. Their optical cores glimmered intermittently like dying stars, and she felt an odd mixture of pity and revulsion. They aren't just machines, she muttered. They're relentless. Relentless, yes, Reyes replied, but not human. They can't feel. They can't improvise like we do, and that is our advantage. Juno thought of the last drone she'd punched in the face. Its shattered optic lens stared back at her like a frozen scream. She had felt no triumph, only the raw, terrifying awareness that she had been dancing with death, and survived. A sudden alert interrupted her thoughts. The comm system buzzed violently. Terran fleet incoming transmission from an unidentified craft, said the automated voice. Juno's pulse jumped. Patch it through. The screen flickered and a Syth hologram materialized. Metallic, angular, and imposing, its eyes glowed a pale cyan. Human, it said, voice cold and monotone. You demonstrate unexpected resilience. You strike with fists and survive when entire battalions perish. Why? Juno leaned forward, her bruised jaw set. Because we don't fight like you. We fight with everything we are. You calculate, we feel. You anticipate, we create. That's why we win. The Syth figure paused, tilting its head as though analyzing every word. Your defiance is illogical. Flesh should submit to steel. Yet you endure. Why? Juno's grin was sharp, dangerous. Try asking again after you taste it. She flexed her fists. Even through the cracked gloves, the strength in her fingers was unmistakable. The hologram flickered and the Syth voice grew distorted. This encounter changes parameters. Others will come. Resistance must be terminated. Adaptive strategies deployed. Termination inevitable. The screen went blank. Rhea's voice came over the comm. You heard it. The Syth are evolving. But remember this, they fear what they cannot control. Their metal soldiers can crush worlds, but they can't crush spirit. Juno closed her eyes and drew in a slow, steadying breath. She could hear the distant rumble of other dropships landing. Soldiers readying for deployment. She could feel the tremor of anticipation and fear ripple through the floor. Fear. Humans felt it, and yet somehow it fueled them rather than weakened them. That was a mystery no machine could replicate. A sudden vibration ran through the hull. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared. Impact detected portside, shouted a technician nearby. Juno instinctively dove behind a bulkhead, fists raised. Sparks showered the deck, and a section of the hull twisted like paper. Outside, a sleek Syth assault pod had breached the perimeter, firing concussive energy pulses at point-blank range. Reyes's calm voice cut through the chaos. Juno, your move. No calculations, no hesitation. Make it count, her heart surged. Every instinct screamed. She sprinted toward the breach, feeling the weight of survival, vengeance, and humanity itself in every step. The Syth pod hovered, sensors scanning, unblinking, unfeeling, and then she struck, a blur of motion. Fists, elbows, knees. Sparks flew, metal screamed, and the pod recoiled under the impact of human unpredictability. It staggered back, but Juno didn't stop. She knew the Syth would adapt. Every strike had to matter. Every movement had to be faster, sharper, more precise than before. Finally, she kicked the pod into a wall. It collapsed with a shattering crunch. Silence fell again. Her chest heaved, blood streaked her face, sweat mingling with grime. A voice broke through her helmet comm. Rhea's tone was calm but edged with awe. You survived, again, but they will come faster next time. And next time you won't be alone. Juno looked out at the stars, feeling both weight and freedom in the endless void. She knew the Syth were everywhere, watching, learning. But she also knew this truth etched deep into every human bone. They could never predict a human's heart. And hearts, Juno realized, hit harder than fists. The comm crackled. A new message arrived, simple, direct. We're coming for you, Juno. Bring your fists. Bring your fire. Humanity is not done yet. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the war began in earnest. The void outside the Terran flagship Odyssey was silent, yet it felt alive. Shadows shifted across distant debris, metal glinting faintly in starlight. Juno Holt stood at the observation deck, fists clenched, jaw tight. Her body still ached from the last encounter, but exhaustion was a luxury she couldn't afford. Juno, Captain Reyes's voice came over the comm, steady as ever. You need to see this. The hollow screen flickered. A projection of a new battlefield unfolded. A Syth warship had unleashed swarms of sleek, black drones across the surface of a mining colony on Vera 9. Civilians were trapped, their shelters turned into crumpled metal and smoke. The drones moved with deadly precision, forming patterns that seemed almost choreographed. They're everywhere, Juno whispered, eyes narrowing. How are we supposed to stop that? Reyes leaned in. We adapt. That's what makes us human. They plan, we improvise. They calculate, we feel. And in the spaces between calculation, we hit. Juno's fists flexed. Spaces between, yeah, I remember that. She looked down at the scars on her gloves, a map of survival etched in dried blood and soot. A sudden alarm cut through the ship. The hull trembled. Multiple breaches detected on Deck 7, Juno spun. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the faint metallic hiss of advancing drones echoed through the corridors. These were new. Sleeker, faster, unpredictable. Not yet perfect, but learning with each step. Hold position. Reyes barked through the comm. You're the line of defense until the reinforcements arrive. Juno sprinted down the corridors, fists ready. The first drone appeared at the end of the hall, its glowing eyes scanning, servos humming. She didn't hesitate, a punch. A kick, a sweep of the leg. Sparks burst where metal met human bone and raw will. The drone staggered, recalibrating. But as it fell, another launched from above, and then another. They came in waves, her lungs burned, her muscles screamed. Every strike was precise, every block timed with instinct rather than calculation. She began to notice patterns, a slight delay in the servo joints, the way they repeated movements after a few seconds. Human reflexes could exploit that, and she did. By the time the reinforcements arrived, she had cleared the deck, leaving a trail of twisted metal and sparks. Her gloves were shredded, blood mixed with grease, yet a grin stretched across her face. She had survived again. Reyes appeared in the corridor, eyes scanning the aftermath. Impressive, he said. But they will return. And next time, more of them will come. We need a strategy that can scale. Juno shook her head. You don't understand. There is no strategy that can fully contain them. The Syth adapt, yes, but we are chaos. Our unpredictability is their weakness, Reyes nodded slowly. And yet they fear us for it. Every move we make teaches them. Every mistake, too. But that's the edge we hold. For now, the comm crackled again. A new transmission from an unknown human fleet, intercepted through Syth sensors. The voice was calm but carried authority. Terrans, it said. You are not alone. Coordinate, strike together. Crush the heart of their command before they crush yours. Juno felt a surge of hope, tempered by caution. Allies meant support but also risk. The Syth would watch, adapt, and learn faster than ever. Later, as the Odyssey sailed through the black expanse toward Vera 9, Juno sat quietly in the observation deck. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the struggle below. Inside, her thoughts churned with fear, resolve, and anticipation. Every human life mattered. Every heartbeat mattered. The Syth had taken lives already, yet the humans were striking back. The weight of survival, responsibility, and vengeance pressed on her. But even under that weight, she felt a flicker of power, the raw, unquantifiable force of human will. A soft voice whispered from the comm terminal. Juno, are you ready? She clenched her fists again. Ready doesn't even begin to cover it, she said. Her gaze hardened, fixed on the stars ahead. Let's show them what humans do when they fight with heart and fists. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. A bright flash illuminated the corridor, and alarm screamed. Outside, a massive Syth cruiser emerged from the shadow of an asteroid field, engines roaring, weapons charging. This was no scouting pod. This was a predator, and it had come to claim the humans it had underestimated. Juno stepped forward, fists raised. Her heart raced, but a strange calm settled over her. The Syth might have steel and firepower, but she had unpredictability, courage, and defiance, and sometimes that was enough to turn the tide. The corridor doors hissed open, and the first wave of Syth soldiers poured in. Juno grinned through bloodied lips. It was going to be messy. It was going to be human. The corridor shook again, the hull of the Odyssey groaning under the pressure of incoming fire. Sparks danced along the walls, and the metallic scent of burning circuits mixed with blood. Juno Holt stood in the middle of the chaos, fists clenched. Muscles taut. They never stop, she muttered, her voice barely audible over the alarms. They adapt, Captain Reyes replied through the comm, his calmness a stark contrast to the chaos around her. And that's why they will fail. Humans don't adapt, they improvise. Humans feel, and feeling cannot be programmed. Juno nodded, absorbing the truth in his words. The first wave of Syth soldiers charged, sleek, angular, moving in perfect coordination, each one designed to calculate and overpower, and yet here she was alone, and they faltered at the unpredictability of her movements. A fist connected with metal. Sparks erupted. Another followed. Each strike carried the weight of anger, grief, and determination. Every blow was a question, who dares to stop me? And the answer was always the same, me. One of the drones lunged from above, attempting a precision strike. Juno rolled under it, using the momentum to slam her shoulder into the wall, sending debris flying into its sensors. It tumbled, staggered, and she didn't pause. The Odyssey's bulkhead shook as another drone broke through the secondary entrance. Juno met it with a series of rapid punches, feeling each strike reverberate through her bones. Her gloves were shredded, her knuckles bleeding. Yet she pressed forward. She could hear the other humans moving through the ship, echoing footsteps in the corridors. This was a symphony of chaos, the human heartbeat against the mechanical rhythm of the Syth. Suddenly, the corridor exploded in light. A concussive blast threw Juno to the floor. Her ears rang. She struggled to rise, coughing, vision blurred. When the smoke cleared, a massive Syth commander drone loomed before her, titanic, armored, its glowing core pulsing like a heartbeat of steel. "You are resilient," it said, its voice a metallic growl. "But resilience does not equal victory. Stand down, human." Juno spat blood onto the floor. "Victory isn't given. It's taken. And humans, we take." The drone advanced, calculating, precise, almost unstoppable. But Juno didn't hesitate. She darted forward, rolling beneath its massive legs, striking at exposed joints. Sparks flew, metal screeched, and the smell of burning circuits filled the air. The drone faltered, stunned by the raw unpredictability of her attack. Humans were chaos incarnate, and it could not compute chaos. Above, a ventilation hatch opened. Captain Reyes and a small strike team dropped down, weapons drawn, providing cover. Juno took a deep breath, feeling the surge of teamwork and human ingenuity. This was no longer just survival, it was resistance. Organized yet wild, precise yet emotional. They pressed forward, each strike tearing through metal, each maneuver exploiting weaknesses no algorithm could predict. Juno could feel the tide turning. The Syth commander was powerful, yes, but humans had something it would never understand. Intuition, instinct, and will. The fight dragged on. The corridors were littered with twisted metal and sparks. Sweat mingled with blood, and Juno's limbs burned with exhaustion. Yet every time a Syth soldier fell, she felt the pulse of life, of defiance, of humanity itself. Finally, with a combined effort of fists, improvised weapons, and sheer determination, the commander drone collapsed. The air was thick with smoke, the floor slick with oil and blood. Juno staggered back, chest heaving. Captain Reyes placed a hand on her shoulder. "We did it," he said. "For now." Juno shook her head, wincing at the pain. "For now," she echoed. "They're learning. They'll come back smarter, faster. We can't stop being human, but we have to be ready." Reyes nodded, his gaze hardening. "That's the point. They are steel, we are flesh. And flesh, adapts in ways steel cannot. We fight, we survive, we endure, and every time we punch, every time we resist, we leave a mark they can't erase. Outside the Odyssey, the stars stretched in cold, indifferent silence. Yet within, the humans had left a mark on destiny itself. A scar, a pulse, a defiance that no machine could fully understand. Juno looked at her fists, battered and bloody. She smiled faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. "Then let them come," she whispered. "We'll be ready." The ship's sensors picked up new movement, massive energy readings hundreds of kilometers away. Another Syth fleet, faster, smarter, more relentless than the last. Juno exhaled sharply, tightening her fists. Bring it on. The war was far from over. But for the first time, the Syth realized humans didn't just fight to survive. Humans fought to dominate, and when humans dominated, it was with heart, with courage, and with fists. Juno Holt stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring down at the Vera 9 battlefield. Smoke rose from the colonies below, twisted metal glittering under the light of distant suns. The Syth had rebuilt faster than she anticipated. Machines always did. But humans adapted faster, too. Faster than the Syth could predict. "They're moving into the central hub," reported Lieutenant Kara Vance, her voice tight. "Hundreds of drones. Command-level units. We need a strike team now." Juno's fist clenched, knuckles white through the bloodied gloves. "Then we go." No hesitation, no calculations, just humans. She stepped toward the transport bay, the weight of exhaustion and adrenaline balancing in her chest. Captain Reyes joined her, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Edge of flesh," he muttered, almost as a mantra. "That's where we win. Where they can't reach us. Where they can't predict us." The dropship descended through the smoke, engines screaming against the chaotic winds. Below, the Syth had formed a living tide of metal. Central hub defense drones, tactical arrays, and reconnaissance units all shifted, forming patterns meant to crush any organic resistance. "They think in sequences," Juno whispered. "We think in chaos." The first wave of Syth drones hit as they landed. Juno dove forward, fists swinging, elbows cracking metal and sparks flying. Around her, humans fought with a ferocity that was raw, uncalculated, beautiful. Every strike was a statement. "We are not yours." A Syth war sphere rolled toward her, sensors glowing a cruel red. Juno assessed it, heart hammering. She noticed a slight lag in its rotational patterns. She used it. A leap, a punch, a roll under its massive chassis, and the sphere toppled like a fallen tree. "Keep pushing," Reyes shouted. "Take the hub." They stormed the central hub, moving through corridors lined with automated turrets. Humans improvised, wrenches, piping, even bare hands, turning every obstacle into a weapon. The Syth calculated, predicted, adapted. But every human strike carried something the Syth could not replicate. Creativity, intuition, the unpredictability of a beating heart. Juno's breath was ragged, her body screaming in pain, yet her mind was sharper than ever. She noticed patterns in the Syth reinforcements, their speed, their targeting sequences. Each wave, each adaptation, created openings, and she exploited every single one. Finally, they reached the hub's control core. A massive Syth command nexus hummed, its energy pulsating in eerie rhythm. The humans paused, sensing the enormity of what they were about to do. "Central core controls the drones," Reyes explained. "Take it down and we cripple their local network." Juno stepped forward. "Then let's remind them who owns unpredictability." They struck. Humans and machines collided, metal screeching against bone and determination. Juno climbed the control core structure, fists raised, dodging pulses of energy and spinning blades. Each movement was a dance, instinct guiding her, chaos shielding her from precision strikes. With a final, shattering blow, she struck the control nexus with her fist, feeling the surge of power as sparks and energy arcs enveloped her. The entire hub shuddered. Systems failed. Drones collapsed mid-stride. Silence fell, broken only by the echo of human breathing and distant alarms. Juno staggered back, chest heaving, sweat and blood mingling. Around her, humans cheered, but she didn't smile. Victory was temporary, and the Syth would return. Captain Reyes joined her, eyes dark with determination. "They underestimated us," he said. "But we've marked them. They know now flesh fights differently than steel." Juno looked at the battlefield. Smoldering drones, twisted corridors, and the faces of humans who had survived against impossible odds. A thought struck her. Every strike they made, every risk they took was a message. We are here. We fight and we do not yield. A comm signal crackled through. Terran command, said a distant voice, calm and authoritative. Your actions have been noted. Reinforcements are inbound. But warning, Syth Central fleets are mobilizing. They will come for you, and next time it will be worse. Juno's gaze hardened. Then let them come, she said, her voice a whisper of both defiance and promise. Because we'll be waiting. Outside in the void, stars glittered cold and indifferent. Yet somewhere in that infinite black, humanity's heartbeat rang louder than any engine, and the Syth would hear it, flesh against steel, heart against code, chaos against order, and humanity, battered, bruised, and relentless, stood at the edge of victory, not complete, but inevitable. The Terran fleet moved like a river of steel through the void, engines burning with controlled fury. Juno Holt stood on the bridge of the flagship Odyssey, watching as streaks of starlight reflected off the hulls of Allied ships. She could feel the tension thrumming through the metal floor, a pulse almost matching her own heartbeat. They've mobilized faster than we predicted, Lieutenant Caravance reported. Syth Central fleets are converging on our position. Full engagement in 3, 2, 1. Juno clenched her fists. Her gloves were still bloodied, her knuckles raw, but exhaustion was a stranger she could not afford. Then we make the first strike. They're fast, precise, and deadly, but they're not human. They can't anticipate the unpredictability of heart. Captain Reyes stepped beside her, eyes scanning the holographic map of the battlefield. Heart and instinct. That's our edge. Every move they predict, we counter with chaos. Every advance they calculate, we turn into opportunity. A silent warning passed between them. The Syth weren't just attacking, they were probing, testing, learning. Every engagement honed their understanding of human behavior. Every defeat was catalogued, algorithms adjusting in real time. Coordinates for the lead Syth command nexus, Vance continued. If we strike there first, we can cripple their forward operations. Juno's mind raced. Lead with chaos, follow with precision. She moved to the drop bay, her strike team forming a line behind her. Each human was armed with whatever they could wield. Rifles, explosives, even makeshift melee weapons. The Syth expected numbers, not unpredictability. The drop pods launched, plummeting into the fractured surface of the enemy-controlled asteroid cluster. Outside, the Syth forces swarmed like living shadows. Their eyes glowed crimson, engines hissed, and the hum of energy weapons cut through the void. Juno rolled as her pod slammed into the asteroid surface. She struck immediately, fists colliding with metal as sparks flew. Around her, the humans moved with a fluid rhythm, fighting, improvising again when calculations failed them. The lead Syth commander emerged, a massive, towering figure, its armor etched with adaptive circuitry. Humans, it intoned, voice vibrating with authority. You are inefficient. You cannot endure. Termination is imminent. Juno gritted her teeth. Inefficient? She spat. We endure because we feel. You'll never understand that. The first blow shattered the drone's forearm. Sparks flew. The second strike sent it staggering into a pile of debris. But the Syth adapted almost instantly. Shields flared, movement patterns shifted. Yet humans were alive in ways machines could not predict. A sudden diversion, a thrown crate, a collapsing structure, even a spontaneous dive, gave them openings that the Syth could not calculate. Juno led the charge, fists smashing, elbows cracking, her instincts dictating every strike. Hours passed like minutes. The pulse of the battle was relentless, yet human resilience shone through. Every fallen comrade strengthened their resolve. Every strike against the Syth reinforced the truth they already knew. The war was not just fought with weapons. It was fought with heart. Amidst the chaos, a smaller signal pulsed through Juno's comm. It was faint, encrypted, unmistakably human. Juno, the voice said, calm but urgent. You need to see this. The feed came alive with imagery of a hidden Syth research facility deep within the asteroid belt. Towers of machinery pulsed with energy, linked by cables that hummed with artificial life. Data streams flashed, revealing experiments in adaptive AI, predictive combat algorithms, and something more. Something terrifying. They're trying to create a human simulator, Juno breathed. A machine that fights like us. Reyes's face darkened. If they succeed, every advantage we've had disappears. Chaos becomes predictable. Heart becomes a formula. We cannot let that happen. Juno's fists clenched. Then we hit them now, hard, faster than they can calculate, before they complete it. Outside, the Syth forces pressed harder. sensing disruption in their network. Yet humans pressed harder still, striking at the facility, tearing through the defenses with relentless precision and unquantifiable courage. Every step, every strike was a heartbeat against cold steel, a pulse against code. The facility shuddered, systems collapsing under human ingenuity. Sparks and fire lit the darkness like stars being born and dying at once. Juno landed a final decisive blow to the core structure. Energy arcs exploded, sending waves of electromagnetic feedback across the asteroid cluster. The Syth commander staggered, systems failing, and fell silent. Juno exhaled sharply, chest heaving. Around her, humans cheered softly, but she didn't. She knew this victory was temporary. They had struck a blow, yes, but the Syth would learn, adapt, and return. Yet for now, the pulse of war was human. And that pulse, chaotic, unpredictable, alive, beat stronger than any machine could comprehend. Captain Reyes stepped beside her. "This is far from over," he said, voice low. "But every strike we make, every risk we take, leaves a mark they cannot erase. That's how we win. That's how we endure." Juno looked out across the wreckage, the stars glittering cold and distant. And somewhere deep inside, she felt it, the defiant, unyielding truth of humanity. We fight. We survive. And when we strike, the galaxy remembers. The stars beyond the Odyssey were cold and indifferent, but inside the Terran flagship, hearts beat like war drums. Juno Holt's fists were still raw, gloves shredded, but she felt an unshakable resolve. Every strike, every risk, every life lost had led to this moment. Humanity was about to show the Syth the meaning of defiance. Captain Reyes stood beside her on the bridge, eyes scanning the holographic display of the Syth Central Fleet. It was massive, a living sea of metal, each unit bristling with weapons and intelligence designed to predict, counter, and destroy. Yet in that cold perfection, Juno saw the weakness the Syth had never understood: fear of the unpredictable. "They're going to hit us hard," Reyes said. "Every calculation they've made leads to this attack. But remember, we're not just humans. We're chaos. We improvise, we feel, and no machine can ever predict that." Juno's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then let's remind them." The Terran fleet plunged into battle. The void erupted with light, sound, and fury as lasers and plasma cut through the darkness. The Syth moved with terrifying precision, swarming, striking, and adapting with every second. But humans were different. They dodged, improvised, countered with instinct and will. Every punch, every dive, every shove was a strike of life against the cold rigidity of machine intelligence. Juno's pod slammed into a Syth command cruiser, tearing open its hull. Sparks rained down as she and a small strike team rolled inside. The ship's internal corridors were a labyrinth of steel and energy conduits, alive with the hum of artificial mines. "Fists, not firepower," Juno muttered, eyes flashing. She struck the first Sentinel drone with a spinning elbow, sending it crashing against a wall. Sparks flew, sensors fractured, but it kept moving. She gritted her teeth, knowing speed alone wouldn't win. It was precision, timing, instinct. The Syth commander drone she faced was massive, towering above her with armor plates humming with energy. "Human," it said, voice deep and metallic. "You defy logic. Termination is inevitable." Juno laughed, raw and fierce. "I don't care about your logic. I care about this." She struck again and again, fists connecting with the drone's joints, sending vibrations through its systems. Every strike carried anger, grief, and the relentless pulse of life itself. The drone adapted, but too slowly. Humans did not follow predictable patterns. Every diversion, every improvised movement exploited the gaps that algorithms could not foresee. Juno moved like a storm, unpredictable and relentless, a whirlwind of flesh and courage against steel and computation. Behind her, Terran forces tore through the command ship. Explosions shook the corridors. Machines fell under the combined assault of hearts and hands. Every Syth that learned to adapt found itself countered by something new, something raw and alive. Finally, Juno reached the central nexus. Her hands hovered over the glowing core, knuckles bloodied, pulse racing. This was the heart of Syth command. Destroy it, and the fleet would falter. Destroy it, and humanity would send a message no machine could ignore. She clenched her fists. "For every life you've tried to erase. For every human you thought weak. For all of us," she struck. A surge of energy exploded outward, sending shockwaves through the ship. Sparks, smoke, and screams of fractured circuits filled the air. The Syth fleet faltered as communication and coordination broke down across hundreds of kilometers. Ships stalled, weapons misfired, drones tumbled into each other in chaos. Juno stumbled back, breathing hard, surveying the ruin. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. For now. Captain Reyes came to her side, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Look out there," he said. "Every system you've touched, every fight you've led, every heart that struck back. The galaxy will remember this." Juno gazed through the viewport. The stars were calm again, distant and eternal. Yet somewhere in that darkness, the Syth would carry the memory of human defiance. They would learn that steel could break, machines could fall, but humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans struck when the galaxy least expected it. Juno clenched her fists once more, feeling the raw strength of survival, courage, and spirit. "We are more than soldiers," she whispered. "We are the pulse of life against the cold. And as long as we stand, nothing can control us." Outside, the remnants of the Syth fleet retreated, sparks fading into the black void. Inside, humanity's heartbeat resonated through the stars. The war was far from over. The Syth would return faster, smarter, and more relentless. But the first strike had been human, and it had left an indelible mark. Juno smiled faintly through blood and sweat. "Let them come," she said, "because when humans fight, we fight with heart. We fight with will. We fight with fists." And somewhere across the endless stars, the pulse of humanity echoed louder than any engine, brighter than any weapon.